Hello and welcome everybody to a Tabletop Junkie stream on a beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you all are doing well and had a great holiday. Lord knows I did. And right now, we are going to spend a few minutes just having coffee and donuts. I don't know if you guys like coffee and donuts. I personally like waffles. So, I don't know what kind of food you guys, breakfast food you guys like. Sometimes a lot of people, we don't have time to really sit down as adults and eat breakfast food all the time, which is kind of sad. But, here we are. So, on this Saturday morning, I'm not really having coffee. I decided to crack open a Coca-Cola. I have actually completely stopped energy drinks for 2025. I don't know how this is going to work out. I may have one every now and then because we do have like another pack that I do have to go through. I'm not going to let it go to waste. Because those things are expensive. But I have actually gotten away from that. My body, I'm trying now, and the next thing I got to do is try to wean the soda and then go to coffee. I have this huge plan on doing that for health reasons. So, as most of you guys may know, due to certain health reasons and how this year has mostly gone and, how things have went with me and my family and stuff like that, we will be kind of doing more organized things coming up in the future, especially coming up into 2025. I hope you guys like that intro. I did that. Tabletop Gaming 2025. 2025, I think, is where tabletop gaming is going to be at, guys, because we've dealt with a lot of bullshit in 2024 and 2023 and 2022 and 2021. The last 4 years of BS. Hopefully, we'll see, whatever the hell all that drama is, we'll just see it kind of die down, because we need to get to one fundamental fact of what gaming really is, and that's sitting down, rolling some dice, and getting along. I have witnessed the destruction of friendships, which, you might as well just say was the destruction of whole worlds, whole games, and everything, just to prove whose side was correct. And you know what? I'm going to say this right now. I should technically have called this Tabletop Junkie Unleashed. I should do an Unleashed arc for 2025. Tabletop Gaming, Tabletop Junkie Games Unleashed. And here's what I'm going to say. I think both sides are politically wrong, and everyone can go screw themselves when it comes to tabletop gaming, because this is a hobby. This is nothing serious. This is where people are here being crybabies and stuff like that, and that's enough. That's enough. I've had enough of it, and that's all I'm gonna do. I love my group of players that I play with: Spartacus, Toby, Witch King. We come from different walks of life, and for God's sake, for some reason, my freaking... Hang on 1 second. Okay, much better. Sorry, my avatar was having some issues. It was stroking out. We come from different walks of life, and you know what? We can get along. So if we can do that, anybody can. This is some like all the propaganda we've dealt with in the last 4 years. This is some major bullshit, and I am sick of it. You know, it's like nobody wants to. Nobody wants to cater. You know, you're not going to get everyone that's going to cater to the left of it and to the right of it. Here's the thing: I made neutral ground. And basically, I got the giant middle finger from both parties. It's only my close friends and people on my server that agrees with me of how this hobby should really be. And I made this neutral ground, and I got it from both ends. And you know what? I'm going to say this. So since that happened, kiss my ass. It's like... I'm coming in hardcore 2025 with my points of view, and if you don't like it, oh well. So, for those who do, please stay on the channel, and please promote me, because I am trying to gain up to 500 subscribers. If I don't make it before the first, I can live with that, but if I can at least make it 500 by next year, I am happy. If I can make it to 700 before the end of the year, I will be happy. So, I will be happy either way, because I do this for fun, guys. This is a fun time, so... All right, so speaking of fun times, let's start diving into a few things before we dive into brass tacks here and get pricked and poked and stuff, and people are going to probably voice their opinions on this one, but we are going to go there. So I want to introduce a couple new subscribers. We've got the Nobody, who's newly subscribed. Welcome to the channel, and then Toxin. I have actually got to speak with Toxin a little bit yesterday. Not in person, sadly, but we did promote his channel over at Ryan Roger Athay's channel. So, love that guy. So, and here we go. I got a few new subscribers. I've actually gone up. You know what? With their help, I've actually gone up quite a bit. So, and they are loving my perspective on tabletop gaming and on the world. So, yeah, I can't really say much different. So, all right. Well, let's take 2 more minutes before we dive into the business of the biz. Couple new things that will be coming up next year. Some fun announcements. We're gonna do some fun announcements. How about that? We're gonna come the fun announcements. I'm gonna pull up my calendar for January 2025. Okay, so I've got January 2025, and here's what we're gonna do, guys. This is it. And and Spartacus, I know you're in the chat, so I know you're listening. Spread the word to Archer Colin, Toby, Witch King, Stealth Dad, Tails, whenever you get off work, of course, because I know you're working. Tails, Ironcaster. I got Mrs. Tabletop, so nobody needs to worry about her. Anyone else who's in my groups of gaming, such as Cyberpunk 2020, Castles and Crusades, Traveler. There are more games to list. I just can't figure out what they are right now. I can't think of them all. We are going to rock the third quarter. And I'm going to do... We are actually going to get... Not the third quarter. The first quarter of the year, which is going to be from January to March. Excuse me. Will be the first quarter. So, with that said... We're going to rock out the first quarter. I'm reforming, I'm actually rebuilding February and March completely from scratch. When it comes to streaming and stuff, I will be going back doing reviews starting the first of the year. The first review I think is going to be on the 4th because unfortunately I do have things to do between the 2nd and the 3rd. The 3rd I am coming in with Cyberpunk 2020, Silent Night, Deadly Night. It'll be the finale. So that will be that, but that won't be the end of Cyberpunk 2020. That'll just open us up to more larger of an arc. And then in January, starting after the 4th, I will start reviews. I just got to check my schedule of when I got things changed, and I will have reviews posted. If you're in my Discord server, you'll be able to see these actively, but they might be a bit late updating. There's just still a lot of things going on between my work life and my home life that we have not apparently Still having some issues in today's time, but we'll figure that out. I've gotten some new stuff to walk me into 2025, and I'm working on a secret project that I will probably present by Christmas time. I'm going to say December of next year in 2025, going into 2026. So I've got some things I'm working on, as well as my own games and stuff like that, such as the Chronicles of Paramore. And speaking of which, we're going to touch base with that probably in a little bit, but under most things, that will be taken care of under a different stream, not this one. So, with that said, January, we are going to come in with the first game of the year will be Cyberpunk 2020, Silent Night, Deadly Night. We're going to wrap up the holiday special. Then we're going to go with Castles Crusades, and we're going to alternate between Castles and Traveler until February 1st. Now, February 1st and March, I'm redesigning those months, and here is the walks of life here. February, March will be every Friday, guaranteed, Castles and Crusades. If you can't make it as my players, if you guys can't make it every Friday, I get that. That's great. But they will be Castles and Crusades. The first quarter, the second third, 2/3 of the first quarter is going to be nothing but Castles and Crusades. And then I'm going to be designing the second quarter probably about mid-January and seeing what I want to do there. I think we're going to be pushing back some games for the second quarter until not all games, because unfortunately we do have May, and May is Star Wars month, but we are going to be you wake me up. Of course I wake you up. I wake you up every time. It's freaking 9 o'clock it's after 9 o'clock in the morning, woman. Get up. Grief. I don't understand people who can sleep until like 10, 11, and noon. I never understood that. Me, I can barely sleep past 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. If I sleep past 8, I'm depressed. You know why I'm depressed? Because I'm freaking to me, that's sleeping in. If I sleep past 8, I'm even more depressed. But anyway, I will be designing the second quarter, but I'm going to get one whole quarter of 2025, nothing but Castles and Crusades. It's just going to be a fact because we are... Yeah. It is a fact because we are wrapping up. I've actually just finished like 96, 97% done with all the notes for the first campaign. And I'm actually starting up some other things off on the side regarding my Castles and Crusades world. Once we move on to the second or third campaign, major campaign, or I think it's like the third or fourth major campaign, we will be actually in the second era, or the second age of my world, which we will see some technological advances. We're going to see some other parts of the world probably. We're going to see some advances in magic. We're going to see, I'm going to allow my players to join in on some other things. So, such as there's other books to join in on, but we will touch base with that later. I just took the first 15 minutes giving announcements and basically saying hello to you guys. So let's get into brass tacks here. All right. So there's my future things for my channel. Now, the name of the stream is Licensed and Unlicensed Content. Now, I'm seeing a trend. The reason why I decided to have this stream is I'm seeing a trend where people are not understanding what those terms are anymore. Now, I've been only in tabletop gaming since 2007, so I'm only coming up on 20 years, but from my understanding, these terms have actually been around a lot longer than that, and apparently the definitions of them are blurring, and I'm sitting here like, really? Really? Because here's what I was told that licensed and unlicensed content is. All right, in tabletop gaming. So, unlicensed content does not necessarily mean uncopyrighted. That doesn't mean anything like that. It just means it's original. Okay, that's a term that I think the gaming community made that stands for original. Some things for original means that this is the first media type, and every media that comes in after this is pretty much stemming from this, that this is the inspiration for. For instance, biggest inspiration for Dungeons and Dragons was always Tolkien, and Tolkien's work. Same for Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, and Castles and Crusades. But they still had to break away from that a little bit. But Tolkien was inspiration of it. But this is still Dungeons and Dragons, Castles and Crusades, and Pathfinder are all original works of themselves. They may have had inspiration that went into them, but they weren't completely copied from one media source. It was multiple media source, multiples like books, movies, comics, information, made these games. There was really no, but the thing is, it was changed so much, it became original works. So Dungeons and Dragons is basically, and Castles and Crusades and Pathfinder is basically where you can create your own worlds, make your own lore up, and all that good stuff. That is what we would call unlicensed work, because that is work, that allows people to make original works. And no matter what, that's the setting. Now, there's other different types of types of settings that go in, like you got Dragonlance, Ravenloft, Mystara, you've got Greyhawk, you've got, there's even a few more, you've got even Conan, Conan's work, Conan the Barbarian, some of their original comics was actually integrated into gaming. So now, see, stuff like Conan the Barbarian, that is an example of licensed work. So that's the difference between the two, because Conan the Barbarian had media before it became a tabletop game. So that's the difference when I mean unlicensed work and licensed work. Unlicensed work is more like original. Yes, it may have been inspired by something, but it's not derived from just one thing. And then licensed work is derived from one thing and has its own setting and has preset worldly features. Yes, maybe stuff that you can alter a little bit and still stay true to the source material, but has source material to begin with. And some of these games are the examples for licensed games. When we say, well, this is a licensed game, that means it had media, it had a setting, it had a franchise before it became a tabletop game. For instance, some of the earliest works was Star Wars, Star Trek, we've got Power Rangers, Transformers, G.I. Joe. I've got a whole list of them here. We got Avatar: The Last Airbender, Army of Darkness. That is actually considered licensed work because they were movies, TV shows, books, comics. They were a number of many different things before they became tabletop games. And what these companies had to do, they had to reach out to the license holders, which is usually the creators and producers and the writers of the franchise, and there is usually one owner who funds the whole project. And they go, hey, I'd like to do this, use this setting, use this. What do I have to do? And what is our contract? And they have to get a contract and a license agreement for it. So that way that people know that game is, yes, the company's writing that game. They may own that game, but they have taken works directly from one or multiple media sources that one game setting has had. Star Wars, before it was tabletop game, which became a tabletop game in, I believe, the early 80s, early 90s. Still had the 3 movies before it was a thing. Had multiple sources of books. The EU started coming out. Other, comic books and whatnot. So, but what was Star Wars beforehand? It was 3 sets of movies. Star Trek, when Star Trek became big in tabletop gaming, it had multiple franchise. It had a whole franchise, multiple TV series, multiple comic books, multiple extended, stuff that would extend the universe out. And, and when Modiphius made Star Trek, there was also another Star Trek game in the 90s, but it failed and it was made by FASA. For those who don't know, that was, I forgot what it stands for, but there was a huge thing behind that. But they still had to go to these holders and go, hey, I'd like to do this. Can I get permission to do this? Can we draw up a contract? That is the difference between licensed and unlicensed work. Licensed work is usually derived from a previous media that already existed and has been well established, whereas unlicensed work is still like original, and someone made this game with this rule set and whatnot, and here you go, and you can make up any setting with it. It's original works. It has nothing to do with copyright or uncopywritten works. I have witnessed recently a lot of confusion on that when somebody says, well, all games are licensed works of something, blah 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 blah. And it was like people were getting confused on what they mean, because they were like, well, there's, it's copywritten. This is copyrighted. This is copyright. Like, you can't just do anything with it. What do you mean it's not licensed? It's not licensed work. It means it's original. It's not derived from a different media source. It's original. Everything, if you want to be honest, everything is copywritten. But in the gaming community, for some of us who invest in it, like me, we actually had to have lingo, because there are tons of tabletop games. I hate to break it to you guys. I do have an important secret. I have to tell you guys, Dungeons & Dragons is not the only tabletop game that exists. Just want to say that. There are other tabletop games. Dungeons & Dragons is not the only one that exists. Oh my god, I'm probably going to get a bunch of hate mail on this now. But hey, I said it. It's out there. And for those who want to say that I'm wrong, I'm going to say this right now. Get your facts straight. And I'm not even going to entertain you for even 5 seconds, because, like, I'll read your comment and go, yeah, you're an idiot. Sorry, but that's just fact. That's a fact. Dungeons & Dragons is not the only tabletop game. There are multiple tabletop games out there. Multiple different ways that you can play a game. Multiple different systems and stuff like that. So, guess what? Get over it. Quicker you get over it, quicker we can move on with life. So, yeah. Dungeons & Dragons is not the only tabletop game out there. And no, it's also not the only true tabletop game. Oh my god. I'm striking nerves, aren't I? I hope to god I am. I am so sick and tired of people saying, if you don't play Dungeons & Dragons, you're not a true tabletop gamer. Really? Why? Because Dungeons & Dragons defines who's a true tabletop gamer and who is not? I mean, seriously. Like, think about that for a second. So, hate to break it to you guys, that is not true either. So, if you play games, but you just don't want to play Dungeons & Dragons, you want to play stuff like, there are other games. There's Pathfinder. You don't want to do that. There's Power Rangers. You don't want to do that. There's Star Wars. You don't want to do that. There's Castle and Crusades. You don't want to do that. There's Call of Cthulhu, Cyberpunk, Traveler, World of Darkness, Fate Core. Have your pick. There's a whole freaking world and libraries. There's ungodly amounts of games out there. There's even indie developers such as Joel Clark, such as The Corpse King, such as I'm gonna name one more. I swear to God, I'm gonna name one more. You know what? I got one more. Small time developer, not necessarily. I would say not necessarily indie developer, but small time developers. Such as, if I can bring up their freaking name, I can't remember their names. Black Cats Gaming. There we go. Named it. Took me like freaking forever. There are, there's even the Green Ronin, which actually made Mutants and Masterminds. There is a ton of different games. D20 is not the only thing. As long as math is infinite, can be infinitely number changed, and math can pretty much make anything. You just got to learn how to do it and be good at it. You can come up with anything. And as long as imagination is limitless, which it is, and creativity is limitless, do not be afraid to explore that. So, no. What is the difference between the terms of licensed and unlicensed? Unlicensed, original work. Licensed, driven from a different media source. Doesn't mean both weren't inspired. So, I think I've ranted on long enough. It's been almost 30 minutes. I'm going to put those terms, the definitions of those terms, in there of what it is. Now, these are not actually probably real definitions, which is okay. We all knew that back in the 80s. We knew that in the 90s. You know, we just needed a way to discern the difference between Star Wars tabletop game and Dungeons and Dragons. We needed it when we were talking about stuff and talking about it. We have two different groups because once again, Transformers was a cartoon and comic books before it was even a tabletop game. Tabletop game, actually, Transformers tabletop game was just recently made. It wasn't even made when I was starting out. We actually, me and my friends went online to find someone who took the time to make and took stuff from the source material to make a game and called it Transformers and to make it relatable to the source, but it was nothing that could be sold. It didn't have there was no licensing. The license there was not there for us to do it. The contract was not there for us to do it. But we did stuff like that. We made up some of our own tabletop games and our own rule sets and stuff like that. And then when Renegade Studios said, "Hey, we got the rights to do Transformers the role-playing game," we started investing in that. That's the difference. That is it right there. Stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and Traveler did not have any pre-known sources. It was just something that someone sat down and said, "Hey, this would be a cool setting to explore. Let's do it." Or let's give the players the groundwork to create their own setting, their own worlds. That's the difference between licensed and unlicensed work. That's why we had to separate that. And I kind of would like that lingo to stay separated, like that, even though we made it up ourselves, because that's the greatest thing about gaming. It's about making stuff up to where your brain can discern the difference. And that way, so we can all just sit around and have a fun freaking time. And that is all I have to say. So, you can either agree with me, that's, because this is something that's been going around for years, which is a known fact, but you don't have to agree. You can just say, "I don't agree with this logic," which is fine. That's the whole point, But here's the thing. We're not all sitting here trying to be politically or intellectually correct or incorrect, which for some people, a lot of people in today's time, we seem to be doing a lot of, and then saying, "Well, this is not correct. This is not correct." And it's like, really? You don't think so? And it's like, sorry if you heard that echo. I just booted up my page for some reason when I wasn't supposed to. So, but, yeah. So, I mean, if you have different voices of opinions, I'm open to them as long as you're not a dick about it. And yes, I said the word dick, so get over it. Good grief. But, anyway, I just wanted to bring this up because I thought this would be a fun topic to explore, as well as there's another fun topic I got coming up here. Don't know if I'm going to do that today or sometime this week or in the coming weeks, but we will explore that. So, meanwhile, for those who tuned in, thank you for tuning in, and remember to work hard, play hard, game on, everybody. Have a great and wonderful day, and remember to get along, love each other, and just have some fun. Don't worry about whatever it is we've been worrying about the last 4 years, because I haven't worried about nothing, but finally this crap's just finally getting to me. So it's like, come on, let's have fun. Let's get back to having fun. 2025, I think is going to be a great year, so let's get to having fun with that. All right, you guys have a great day now.
Why don't you shut up?
You shut up.